Hey, welcome back to Pause It For Me, Season 3. We're in the new year. We're in a new city, temporarily at least. We're visiting our good friends Karl and Gabe to record episodes that cross over with my favorite podcast, Karl and Gabe Go to the Movies. So please welcome Gabe and Karl.
Possible response, yes, no, or what? Go away. Please come back later. You, asshole. You. You, asshole.
Yeah, so we watched The Terminator with Gabe, which we'll get to shortly. But Gabe, do you want to comment on my intro there? What happened here? We came to Toronto to visit you guys, to record some crossover episodes. Karl and Gabe, pause it for me. Karl, nowhere to be found.
Carl is currently at work. I told him that you guys were coming, and guess who's not here? He couldn't be bothered to book it off. I don't know why. He'll say that it's because his schedule is set months in advance, but
it happens.
Well, he missed out on the Terminator experience. So,
Indeed.
So we're here with Gabe, doing our third video podcast. Gabe, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about the setup process and what I put you through the last, 45 minutes to an hour?
You know, if I wasn't a media person, it probably would have been like, can we get this? But like, I know how it is. I've been on film sets with college students where it took 3 hours to choose which focal length we were going to use to film a scene that was maybe 5 seconds long. Yeah. So this was, relatively painless compared to that.
Yeah. I mean, I tore your living room apart. Moved all your lights around and stuff.
Yeah, everything's all set up differently.
Yeah, moved your Christmas tree.
This is my first video podcast. Hi, viewers.
And you look wonderful, I do have to say. I mean, partially thanks to my professional lighting.
Yeah, you did such professional lighting of my lamp pointing at me right now.
Yeah, at an awkward angle. Yeah.
That's indie filmmaking, baby.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. You do what you work with what you have.
Yeah, Barry Lyndon was all natural lights, so
yeah, but he had like a lens that was designed by NASA or something like that for low light situations.
Yeah, so we're all looking very good. I cut my beard to match Gabe's so that he would feel less threatened by me.
Yeah,
I did that very purposefully.
Yeah, I've been going with the goatee lately. I don't know how I feel about it, but my cheeks don't necessarily grow in very well. So
me too.
The goatee is kind of just like, it's either goatee or mustache. So it's like, guess I'll go with the
Hannah
goatee.
was going to try to do it too, but she couldn't grow one in time.
Well, it's goatee or get out.
I think the word you were searching for was goatee or go home.
Yeah. It was.
Couldn't quite land that one, but that's okay. So, as I said, we watched The Terminator because we were on our way here, intending to record with Karl and Gabe a special episode that maybe we'll get to a couple weeks or months down the line. But since we had to cancel that, I was looking at your watch list on Letterboxd, and I sorted it from my highest rating to lowest rating. So basically, I was able to look at the movies on your watch list that were my favorite movies that you had never seen. And right smack dab at the top of the list was The Terminator. I was like, how has Gabe made it through life thus far not having seen The Terminator?
Yeah.
You want to comment on that?
And I thought that I had seen The Terminator, but I just hadn't logged it on Letterboxd. But then watching it, I was like, I think I've only seen the final 20 minutes of Terminator.
Oh, really?
I don't think that I had seen any of the opening. How long is Terminator? Was it 2 hours?
Hour 45, I think.
Hour 45. Yeah, so I hadn't seen the first hour and 25 minutes of the Terminator before.
Right. Well, I'm sure our audience knows what the Terminator is about, but just for the sake of it, a human soldier is sent from 2029 to 1984 to stop an almost indestructible cyborg killing machine sent from the same year, which has been programmed to execute a young woman whose unborn son is the key to humanity's future salvation. Actually kind of a complicated premise, but
not that complicated.
I think they pulled it off pretty well. So this
easily explained.
I don't know if we've talked about Terminator on the podcast before, but it's a movie that it's close to my heart. It's one of my best friends, Faraz. We bonded over this movie early in our dating. I showed you Terminator 1 and Terminator
Faraz?
2. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, me and Faraz go on dates. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
Man dates. Don't worry about it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'll mandate you at some point. You'll get there.
You'll mandate me?
Yeah. Don't be jealous. Anyway. So I've seen Terminator's in my top 30 favorite films of all time. Same with Terminator 2, which again you haven't seen yet.
Yeah. No.
So I've seen Terminator 1 many, many times, but I haven't seen it in a few years, and I was excited to watch it again. So what were your thoughts going into it?
Going into Terminator, I mean, I knew it was a classic. Obviously, I'd seen the last 20 minutes before, and I thought that they were sick when I saw them in like high school or whenever it was. I had only ever seen in full, I guess, the bad Terminator movie, Terminator Salvation.
Salvation, yeah.
That's too bad.
Yeah. So that was my main experience with Terminator, but obviously I know Terminator is a classic, and the Terminator 2, which I still haven't seen yet either, is even better. So
Some people think so, yeah.
And this is actually perfect timing to watching Terminator 2, and we're going to watch that later, you said. And then Big Jim's The Abyss is coming back. Well, it did come back to theaters for a day, but it's coming to a theater in Toronto on January 6th. It's basically been unavailable to be seen except for on DVD.
Oh, yeah.
I think I've heard about that.
It's never been on Blu-ray or 4K. They just remastered it to 4K, so
Wow.
I'm excited to check that one out too. Catch up on the Big Jim adventures that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I heard about that recently. Like Cocoon is also like nowhere to be found
Oh, really?
for some reason. It's like a very famous movie. That's so weird that movies just kind of get lost
Yeah.
in that way.
That's why I think
sad.
it's important. I mean, you can see, I mean, the viewers can't see it, but you guys can see it. I've been amassing a big physical media collection because a lot of things just go off of streaming services now.
Yes.
I mean, we had to look up When Harry Met Sally. I mean, it's available to purchase places, but it wasn't actually available to stream anywhere. And it's like, if you're going to purchase the disc, then you're going to be able to watch it in higher quality than when you stream it and
That's
it's
true,
compressed video.
Yeah. By the way, little teaser for the next episode. When Harry Met Sally, we're doing two episodes while we're here.
Ooh.
When Harry Met Sally, we're going to be doing that next. So I was really excited to show this to you because, again, like you said, I see it as a classic. So did it live up to that expectation that it would be a classic? Did it at least have some things going for it? It's hard to tell with you whether you're enjoying a movie or not. You tend to check your phone a lot, or at least check your smartwatch.
What? I looked at
Occasionally.
my phone once during this episode.
And how?
Or during this movie.
Yeah, during the movie. And how many times did you look at your smartwatch?
Maybe like 3 or 4 times.
A few.
I just quickly glanced at it. I wasn't like checked out of the movie at any point.
Well, it's hard
Yeah.
to tell, like I said.
Listen, you know who's way worse for this than me? Carl.
Who can't defend himself because he's not here.
Carl's not here. But like, I walked in and he's watching Barbie the other day, and he was literally like on his phone during like the emotional peak of the movie. He was like,
Had you seen it?
no, he hadn't seen it before.
Oh, come on.
I was like, you're missing the big scene.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's tough.
sorry. Back to Terminator.
It's partially on me too, because I'm totally like when I'm showing Hannah a movie, I'm totally the guy who's like she's watching the movie and I'm like
Yeah.
waiting to see her reaction. So like anytime she looks at her phone, I'm like, hey, do you want to get off your phone? Or like I'll like she'll be on her phone and I'll just like pause it and stare at her.
Yeah.
Just be like, anytime.
Well, when we were watching When Harry Met Sally, I couldn't help but like look over at you and smile and stuff like that. So
yeah. Well, me
it's
too.
reciprocal.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, go on.
I thought the Terminator was fantastic.
Oh, good.
I mean, you know this. I was just talking to you about Trancers the other day. I love corny sci-fi, and not that this movie's corny. I mean, there are parts of it
There's some parts, yeah.
that have aged. I don't want to say poorly because I think that there's a real charm to when they cut to Arnold Schwarzenegger and it's clearly just like
A dummy.
A dummy.
yeah, a puppet.
Yeah, it's it's very charming, and I really like that type of stuff in old sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
So this was. You know what I wanted more of, which I'm assuming that there's more of in Terminator 2, is the battlefield sequences where they were like hiding from the machines and like under rubble and stuff like that. I wanted more of that. I really like the one like car chase part of that.
You know,
I'll be honest. I think there's even less of that in Terminator
really?
2.
there's more Arnold just smashing stuff.
Oh, okay.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say is upon this rewatch, because I saw it once a couple years ago, I didn't remember them like showing the future at all. I thought it was just like Reese like saying like, yeah, John Connor sent me back. I didn't realize they did like a flashback.
Multiple flashbacks, yeah.
He's like, hey kids, like how's it going?
He didn't say that.
No.
He kind of like
that was
aimed
like
his gun.
Yeah,
that
when he
was the
points his gun at the
machismo.
kid.
Yeah.
Like,
That's the vibe I got. I didn't remember that like at all.
Yeah. Well, there was some really nice filmmaking aspects to that. Like I loved the scene where they transition into the flashback where he's falling asleep in the car next to the big machinery, and they show a close up of like the treads, and you assume it's one of the treads of the pieces of machinery that's right next to him, but they kind of like flawlessly move into the flashback, and you see that the treads are going over the skulls. I thought that was really effective and cool.
Oof, yeah.
I think there was another transition where I just said out loud, "Oh, that was sick."
Yeah. That was when they transition from the flashback of the burning photo of Sarah Connor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They fade into her sleeping on Kyle Reese's lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, there were lots of great transitions in this movie between scenes. I don't know.
There's a good directing style there. Like you can see why he went on to do so many things. Like there's definitely a lot of artistic flair. Like he came from, I believe it was like special effects or just like art department before. That's why like the sci-fi like production design is so interesting and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So what aspects did you feel drew you into it? You made a couple comments about the soundtrack, the score, and I couldn't tell if they were positive comments or negative comments. What you said was like you loved that the soundtrack was just someone going ham on a Casio.
Yeah, and it really is. I mean, at one point when I made that remark, it sounded like, you know how they're like on the Casios, there were like the automatic, like the like preset beats.
Yeah.
It sounded like someone had just hit one of those preset beats and then was just jamming over top of
Yeah,
it.
it was like that's pretty much the whole soundtrack. It sounds great though.
I don't know if it's good. I don't know if the soundtrack is good, but it's certainly, I thought it was charming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm
That's
not going to
fair.
be putting it on my list of like great soundtracks.
Oh, no.
And I'm not going to be like pulling it up on Apple Music like, oh, let me listen to the Terminator soundtrack. But like, I think it suits the mood of the movie quite well and what the movie was going for. It's very much so, although it's a sci-fi movie, it's very much so set in 1984.
Yes.
Like it is very much of the time. And you know, and then it goes to the future, whatever. But it's it's not some type of alternate version of modern day when the movie was made. It's, you know, it's meant to be a realistic depiction.
Yeah.
For sure. The outfits are very time period specific. Like
And
Nikes.
and the
Yeah.
haircuts too. Oh
Yeah.
my god, they're awful.
they're like mullets almost.
Yeah. Sarah Connor's haircut. I'm curious to hear your take on Sarah Connor's change in hairstyle in the second one.
It couldn't be any worse than this.
Yeah, well, we'll see. So one thing that I liked was it felt like a nice blend of a lot of different genres because like it's sci-fi, it's horror, it's action,
There's some
it's
romance.
thriller. There's, you know, romance. There's a really good sense of tension in a lot of it. Every time, like the Terminator always seems like one step ahead of them. When Sarah like keeps giving away her position, it's like, Sarah, you bungled it again.
Yeah.
Really like that about it.
So this is something that I've thought about of a lot of Big Jim's movies is that like he does like action and like world building very well, but then once it comes to the romance part of the movie, he like bungles it really badly.
It was okay.
I feel like a lot of the things that what's the guy's name?
Kyle
Kyle.
Reese.
Kyle, yeah. That Sarah and Kyle say to each other when they're in the motel. I'm like, this is so corny.
That is probably the weakest point in the movie. Like when he's like,
it's like not quite George Lucas level bad romance writing, but
Sure,
like
yeah.
close.
it's just like
It's like
one level up from that.
Yeah, it's like I'm on board for like most of the scene, and then he's like, I loved you, Sarah. I always have. I'm like,
From a picture?
always since
From,
the time when you gave you the picture.
That's creepy. Yeah.
You saw one picture of her and you were like, that's the girl. That's the one I'm in love with. There's been no others.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Okay, that's weird.
But that said, I felt that the acting was pretty kick-ass.
Yeah.
I really was convinced by Michael
Mm-hmm.
Biehn that he was like a soldier from the future, really frantic. And that's
Oh yeah, he's really good in that interrogation scene.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And that's like I don't think you've seen Terminator Genesis, but a later movie made in like 2015, I want to say, is kind of like an alternate reality version that kind of mixes this movie and the next movie. And there's a different actor playing Sarah Connor, and there's a different actor playing Kyle Reese, and they both suck. Actually, it's Emilia Clarke playing Sarah Connor, and some random guy playing Kyle Reese, and like he just has totally the wrong energy. Like Michael Biehn was like, "Get up, we gotta go, we got a mission to do, come on!" And then the guy in Terminator Genesis is like, "What's going on? I don't know what's happening. It's 1984 and it's crazy."
Yeah, I mean, the whole point is like, he's like, I have to save Sarah because, you know, otherwise John won't exist. It's like, come with me if you want to live. Like, it has to be like really dramatic. Like, it doesn't work otherwise.
Yeah. Throughout the movie, she's like wanting to be like, let's stop. And like, I'm having a hard time right now. And he's like, just get it together, Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost that energy.
That was one thing that I noticed was like he says he's assigned to protect Sarah, and every time I watch this movie, that's the mindset that I go in with is like he's there to protect her. But then I was watching it through a different lens. I'm like, I think actually it's more so his assignment is just to destroy the Terminator and like not even really have much regard for Sarah. Like he's not really being nice to her.
Just to make sure that she exists.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have John, like, it doesn't matter if he's nice to her.
But
really.
yeah, my point was like when he gets there, he's not like, oh, priority one is to make contact with Sarah and protect her. He's like, priority one is to find the Terminator. And to do that, he has to leave Sarah unprotected and lure him out.
That makes sense. Yeah, because he said that they're hard to detect, like almost impossible. So he had to wait for the Terminator to strike first.
Yeah. He had
So
to wait for him to make his move.
So let's talk about Arnold as the Terminator. What did you think?
So I think that first of all, Arnold, very just physically imposing dude. So
Oh, yeah.
I think, perfect casting.
Yeah.
And Cameron really plays to Arnold's strengths by just letting him use his physicality. And he maybe only speaks like 4 or 5 times in the movie.
He nails like the comedic timing though.
Yeah.
Like it's all like comedic lines almost.
For sure. And that's something, Arnold always had that charisma. But I just think that probably at this early point in his career, you probably didn't want him doing too much dialogue, right?
Because the accent, I think a lot of Hollywood maybe wasn't ready for that. Like a Hollywood leading man in America that has like such a thick foreign accent.
Not until the 90s.
Yeah. And then I was like, all the rage.
Yeah. Then it was like, let's put him in every family movie.
Absolutely, yeah.
Put that cookie down.
No, I think it was an awesome, iconic role. And I'm really,
one of the great villain performances.
Yeah. I'm really excited for you to see. I don't think we're going to talk about Terminator 2 on mic, but I'm really excited for you to see it because it revisits a lot of the same topics and ideas that were in Terminator 1, but some of which in different ways.
Yeah. Well, I was saying this off mic. It's like you kind of have to watch both of them. Like to me, it's like part 1, part 2.
Yeah.
In a way, because it's like you have Sarah Connor and, it's like the start of that and like how is she, this timid person, going to become a leader? And then number 2 explores that idea further. So it's an exciting watch.
Well, speaking of which, knowing how Terminator 1 ended, do you know anything about Terminator 2?
Just that it's called Terminator 2: Judgment Day.
Okay. What if you had to guess what Terminator 2 is about or like what happens, what would be your expectations for it?
Arnold comes back because, it's not the same Arnold, obviously, because the last one got crushed. But he comes back. I know that because he's on the cover of the Blu-ray. And then...
Yes, sell me your script. Pitch it.
Okay. Sarah has built up an army, a small militia force in the Mexico desert because she's ready for the day of, because she knows that in about 4 years' time, the war that ends humanity is going to come. So she's made like a bunker or something. And then the war starts happening, and then also the Terminator shows up at the same time, and they have to fight the Terminator. But there's also more than one now.
Well, that's interesting.
Probably.
Okay. Well,
Because you got to up the ante.
Exactly.
I guess we'll just
like
have to
Aliens.
see. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Big
was only
Jim.
one in Alien, and
Yeah.
then there was a billion.
There you go.
And an even bigger Alien. Is there a bigger Arnold?
Yeah, so there's no 15-foot Arnold in the next one. But speaking of which, what did you think of the stop-motion effects of the Terminator at the end? Because I think I mentioned this in our most recent Halloween episode, that the stop-motion skeleton Terminator at the end of this movie is like one of the scariest things I've ever seen. Not like gore scare.
Really?
But like if I saw that in my nightmares, I would be freaked out.
I thought that was the only part that didn't hold up as well, was the stop motion part, because it was like super slow. It was like, but then when they showed like the actual skeleton in the close-ups, I was like, oh, that looks good. Like when it was still.
Your take, Gabe?
Yeah, the stop motion's a little bit janky, but it's definitely a very terrifying visual. But also that one hallway shot with where they're trying to close the door.
Yeah, that is terrible.
That is one of the worst compositing jobs I've ever seen ever. And it's not like
you can see like the green lines around.
It's really bad, and like it's kind of inexcusable how bad that shot is, because like, you know, Hollywood had already pretty much perfected, you know, image compositing by that point, and like tricks that you can do to.
There's green screen in like the 40s or like.
You guys are mean.
There's plenty of.
Tell James Cameron what you said.
There's plenty of instances, if you watch movies from like 50 years before, no, not 50, maybe like 30 or 40 years before Terminator was made, where they combined miniatures with full-size people, and like even RoboCop, which came out like what, a few years after this,
around the same
same time, did like an amazing job with that, with combining miniatures with, you know, people.
Yeah.
Well, you'll see like maybe like an ebb and flow of the special effects for the second one, how like maybe they try to do different techniques, stuff like that. Like James Cameron is always trying to up the ante. Like Titanic, he did like a bunch of different special effects, practical effects. The same with The Abyss, they tried to do like a lot of CG and stuff. So that's, you know, Avatar, obviously the motion capture, like that's his thing.
Yeah.
I won't disagree with you about the hallway shot, but I'll challenge your take on the stop motion versus the other Terminator skeleton shots. To me, anytime it was a shot of like the Terminator upper body and it was moving in regular motion, to me my eye is like, oh, that's a prop guy moving that on a stick and just kind of turning it from side to side. But when it was the stop motion, I was like, that looks unnerving and robotic and creepy. That looks like it's moving like something I don't normally see. So that was scarier to me, because it's a robot and it's moving unnaturally. I was like, ooh, don't let it get me.
Yeah, that's legitimate.
Enough. I mean, to be fair, when you were a kid, you got scared by the FBI warning at the beginning of VHSs.
Are you trying to tell me that's not a universal thing?
That's true. I did hear that you're scared of the cops.
You wouldn't steal a car.
You wouldn't download a car.
Yeah, I would if I could. Yeah. Anyway, final thoughts on Terminator. What would you give it out of 10, out of 5, however you want to rate it?
Well, I'm a big Letterboxd guy, so I believe in rating movies out of 5.
Gross.
Okay.
IMDb is 10.
Yeah, well, I don't log my movies on IMDb. I would give Terminator 4 out of 5.
Oh, that's
solid,
respectable
sci-fi film. Not one of my all-time favorites or anything, but a really good film, and I'm quite looking forward to watching the second movie.
Yeah, it's a fun ride for sure.
Hannah?
I think I probably gave it the same rating. I think it holds up. You know, like it's just a fun 80s action movie. There's not much to it. Like Arnold is in his element. You know, you got all the great 80s fashion. Probably a 4 out of 5 as well.
Yeah. I think when I was a teenager, I probably gave it like a 10 out of 10. Watching it now, I can't give it more than 9 out of 10. I don't think I would sync it quite to 8 out of 10, but for me, at least personally, I can look past some of the cheesy effects and the Arnold face and all that. But now that you're pointing out the romance thing, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of lacking in some of those departments. So 9 out of 10 or 4.5 out of 5 in my book.
There's a lot of nostalgia to it for you, I'm sure. So
Yeah. So what's on your docket for movies that you want to watch in the near future? I know you mentioned The Abyss. What else is on your radar that you're looking forward to seeing?
I'm going to see Lawrence of Arabia in 70 millimeter.
Nice.
that's so exciting.
Later this week.
I'm reacting to that as if you did not tell me that like 2 hours ago off mic. Cool.
Can I say something to your viewers?
Sure.
Do not watch Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon. It is one of the worst movies of the century. Don't
Really?
The
do
century?
it. Don't do it. It is awful. Don't do it to yourself.
Why is it so bad?
It's just it has no redeeming qualities. I can't even describe it. The writing's bad, the acting's bad, the special effects are bad. It's just all around terrible. Zack Snyder's still using that like awful yellow filter that like video games and movies used to use in like the mid 2005s ish.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
People call it the piss filter.
To make
think I
it
know what
look
you're
like
talking about.
like cinematic action.
Yeah, I think
or
300
something?
used it a lot. And
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
and
sure.
like most video games in the PS3 era used it for some
like
reason.
a GTA kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, GTA 4 is like really yellow and
Yeah.
smeary.
I don't know what that was. He's still using it though in 2020. It's
weird.
just brutal.
Sounds awesome.
Justice League, the Snyder cut though, it was 4:3 and like desaturated.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
why would he do the piss yellow thing?
I have no idea.
So what are you looking forward to watching?
Yeah.
I think I'm feeling good about my end of the year list. Like it's really coming together. There's only a few more movies that I really want to see before I feel like yep, I've got like my list down and these are my favorites of the year. I want to see The Iron Claw. That's a wrestling movie, a biopic. I want to see The Teacher's Lounge. And there's like 2 or 3 others that I still want to see. But
I've never heard of 2 or 3 others, but I haven't heard of the others.
2 or 3 things I know about her. The Jean-Luc Godard movie.
Yes, of course.
Bless you. Well, I want to pose another question to you before we let go of our audience here. You've got a wide range of Criterion copy Blu-rays over here. If you had to recommend just one of them to our listeners, what would you recommend?
Probably Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I think it's probably one of the great romances ever written. And
Great
put the
choice.
screen, great passion in that movie. Celine Sciamma, no one writes passion like her. I don't even know how to really describe it. All of her movies are really amazing. Petite Maman is there too. That's another one of her fantastic movies. I just recommend the films of Celine Sciamma. Go
Yeah,
watch
it
them.
seems that way.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much, Gabe, for coming on the podcast. Karl, any final words from you? Enough said.
Really well spoken, Karl.
He's got to go to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, he's at work. He's going to come back. Yeah. All right. Catch us next time where we're going to be talking about When Harry Met Sally. For you, it'll be a couple weeks. For us, a few minutes.